to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to the morning Bhagavatam class. Today we are reading from the second canto, 7th chapter, verse number 26. So before I start, I'll say my prayers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobeshtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahayam Datadi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीन बंधो जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। I'll share my screen and we'll read. I'll read the verse, the synonymous translations and purport. Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, verse number 7, text 26. Bhume suretara varutha vimarditayaha klesha vyayaya kalaya sita krishna keshaha jatah karishyati jananupalakshya margah karmani chatma mahimopani bandhanatni. Synonyms, word-to-word meanings. Bhume, of the entire world. Sura itara, other than godly persons. Varutha, soldiers. Vimarditayah, distressed by the burden. Klesha, miseries. Vyayaya, for the matter of diminishing. Kalaya, along with his plenary expansion. Sita Krishna, not only beautiful, but also black. Keshaha, with such hairs. Jata, having appeared. Karishyati, would act. Jana, people in general. Anupalakshya, rarely to be seen. Margaha, path. Karmani, activities. Cha, also. Atma, Mahima, glories of the Lord Himself. Upani Bandhanani, in relation to. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. When the world is overburdened by the fighting strength of kings who have no faith in God, the Lord, just to diminish the distress of the world, descends with His plenary portion. The Lord comes in His original form with beautiful black hair. And just to expand His transcendental glories, He acts extraordinarily. No one can properly estimate how great He is. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This verse is especially describing the appearance of Lord Krishna and his immediate expansion, Lord Baladev. Both Lord Krishna and Lord Baladev are one supreme personality of Godhead. The Lord is omnipotent and he expands himself in innumerable forms and energies, and the whole unit is known as the one supreme Brahman. Such extensions of the Lord are divided into two divisions, namely personal and differential. The personal expansions are called Vishnu Tattvas, and the differential expansions are called Jiva Tattvas. And in such expansional activity, Lord Baladev is the first personal expansion of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Vishnu Purana, as well as in the Mahabharata, Both Krishna and Baladev are mentioned as having beautiful black hair, even in their advanced age. The Lord is called Anupalakshya Margaha, or in still more technical Vedic terms, Avan Manasa Gocharaha, one who is never to be seen or realized by the limited sense perception of the people in general. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:25, it is said by the Lord, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samavritaha. In other words, he reserves the right of not being exposed to anyone and everyone. Only the bona fide devotees can know him by his specific symptoms. And out of many such symptoms, one symptom is mentioned here in this verse, that the Lord is Sita Krishna Kleshaha, or one who is observed always with beautiful black hair. Both Lord Krishna and Lord Baladev have such hair on their heads, and thus, even in advanced age, they appear like young boys, 16 years old. That is the particular symptom of the personality of Godhead. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that although he is the oldest personality among all living entities, he always looks like a new youthful boy. That is the characteristic of a spiritual body. The material body is symptomized by birth, death, old age, and diseases. But the spiritual body is conspicuous by the absence of those symptoms. Living entities who reside in Vaikuntha Lokas in eternal life and bliss have the same type of spiritual body without being affected by any signs of old age. It is described in Bhagavatam, 6th canto, that the party of Vishnudutas who came to deliver Ajamila from the clutches of the party of Yamaraj appeared like youthful boys, corroborating the description in this verse. It is ascertained thus that the spiritual bodies in the Vaikuntha Lokas, either of the Lord or of other inhabitants, are completely distinct from the material bodies of this world. Therefore, when the Lord descends from that world to this world, he descends in his spiritual body of Atma Maya, or internal potency, without any touch of Bahiranga Maya, or external material energy. The allegation that the impersonal Brahman appears in this material world by accepting a material body is quite absurd. Therefore, the Lord, when he comes here, has not a material body but a spiritual body. The impersonal Brahmajyoti is only the glaring effulgence of the body of the Lord, and there is no difference in quality between the body of the Lord and the impersonal ray of the Lord called Brahmajyoti. Now, the question is why the Lord, who is omnipotent, comes here to diminish the burden created upon the world by unscrupulous kingly order. Certainly, the Lord does not need to come here personally for such purposes, but he actually descends to exhibit his transcendental activities in order to encourage his pure devotees who want to enjoy life by chanting the glories of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 9.13 and 14, it is stated that the Mahatmas, the great devotees of the Lord, take pleasure in chanting of the activities of the Lord. All Vedic literatures are meant for turning one's attention towards the Lord and his transcendental activities. Thus, the activities of the Lord in his dealings with worldly people create a subject matter for discussion by his pure devotees. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadadi Swapadantikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? So thank you, Lingaraju Prabhu, for reminding and pointing out that Prabhupada began the purport with Lord Baladev appearing along with Lord Krishna. Today being Balaram Jayanti, so first of all, I want to wish everyone a very happy Balaram Jayanti. And this is, I'm sure, more than a coincidence that in the appearance of Lord Krishna in this series of texts in this chapter, Prabhupada began the purport with Lord Balaram, with Lord Balaram. Yeah, so here in this chapter, we see that Lord Brahma is describing all the incarnations of the Lord, one after the other, and he's describing them as he sees them. He is actually seeing them, the incarnations, as they come, and he's describing it for our benefit. So Lord Brahma is seeing the Lord as he is, because Lord Brahma himself is also a pure devotee, and he sees Krishna or the Lord as he is. Later in the purport, Prabhupada is talking about people generally see the Lord according to their nature, according to their own internal potencies, internal nature, internal consciousness, how covered we are with the external material energy, and based on that we see the Lord, not just the Lord, everyone, but Lord Brahma, being a pure devotee of the Lord, he is seeing him as he is, and he is describing it for us. So that's the benefit for us. And here Prabhupada is beginning the purport. A beautiful purport. He covers a lot of points here, but within the translation, we see that the Lord Brahma is specifically describing a few things here. So the first one is that when the world is overburdened by the fighting strength of kings who have no faith in God, the Lord, just to diminish the distress of the world, descends with his plenary portion. So it's mentioned here that Krishna is descending with his plenary portion specifically to diminish the distress of the world created by the people or kings who have, when we say kings, it automatically means people also, because the leaders influence the general public. It's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. So the kings who have no faith in God. So that's one of the purpose, and that's one of the purpose mentioned by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita also, in the 4th chapter, that out of the 3 different purpose, Vinashaya Chatuskrita, he comes to diminish the Duskritas, or the evil-minded persons, or the atheists, and who are generally against the principles of God and the society. So that's one of the points here that Lord Brahma is describing. And Prabhupada mentions that in the last paragraph, that now the question is why the Lord, who is omnipotent, comes here to diminish the burden created upon the world by unscrupulous kingly order. Certainly the Lord does not need to come here personally for such purposes. So that's true, because then Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita also, Devi hi esha gunamai mama maya duratyaya mamevaya prapatyante mayametam tarantite. So this divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So this energy, he says that it's mine, and it's duratya, it is difficult to overcome. So he can always use the Maya, the potency of Maya, which is extremely, extremely strong, to diminish these people. And so he does not himself need to come, but Prabhupada specifically mentions, but he actually descends to exhibit his transcendental activities in order to encourage his pure devotees, because that's his second purpose. He says in the 4th chapter, one of the reasons is paritranaya sadhunam. So he comes here to give his personal association and to exhibit his, like Prabhupada is mentioning, transcendental activities to encourage his pure devotees. Because what do the devotees want? Who they want to enjoy life by chanting the glories of the Lord. And Prabhupada is quoting 9.13, and I brought it up here. Mahatmanastu mam partha devim prakritim ashritaha bhajanti ananya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So that is the real purpose for Krishna to come on this material world, is to give association, to give the transcendental pleasure to his devotees. Because this material energy, Maya, is so strong, and we can easily understand, not very difficult to understand, that whether good or bad, evil or good or evil, they are both creations of the material energy of Maya. And evil, even though it seems really bad and powerful a lot of times, is still a creation of the material energy. And if it is a creation of the material energy can always kill or finish them, no problem. And Krishna says that the material energy is in his control, is his mama maya, so it's his maya. All right, next point in the translation is that the Lord comes in his original form with beautiful black hair, and just to expand his transcendental glories, he acts extraordinarily. No one can properly estimate how great he is. So, and then Prabhupada talks that both Krishna and Balaram, when they descend, they have these beautiful black hairs, and Prabhupada explains that the Lord is Sita Krishna Keshaha, or one who is observed always with beautiful black hair. Both Krishna and Lord Baladev have such hair on their heads, and thus, even in advanced age, they appear like young boys 16 years old. That is the particular symptom of the personality of Godhead. So we see that the hairs are beautiful. Even in our material life, we cherish beautiful hairs. We all see it. We try to maintain hairs, and when age starts coming, when the hairs starts becoming gray, we try to dye them, make them black again. So where is that uh, tendency coming from? The tendency is coming from the our eternal nature, which is a nature in our constitutional position. We are eternal and Sachit Ananda and have an eternal body, just like Krishna and Balaram. Prabhupada mentions that in the Vaikuntha Loka, everyone is like the Lord's. So because that tendency is there, we want to always look young with black hair. But Krishna and Balaram, because they are in their spiritual form, the hairs that they have, they remain beautiful and black always. Even when Krishna was in the battle of Kurukshetra, he was 120 plus 125 years old, but he still looked like a 16-year-old boy with beautiful black hair. And this beauty of the black hair, I was listening to some lecture, it's mentioned that the beauty is something that we cannot even imagine. Yes, in the material world, we are attracted by beautiful hairs, long hairs, black hairs. But Krishna's black hair, that one single hair, gives the beauty which is beyond our imagination from what we can ever understand or see. Of course, these things can only be described by our acharyas who have that vision of a pure devotee, because they have the eyes of the prema, like it's mentioned in the Brahma Samhita, premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena. So because they have the pure eyes and the pure devotion, they have the power to see, and that's how we can see here, including Lord Brahma, who is describing it for us. And then Prabhupada mentions that next point, he goes on to say that, but that is the characteristic of a spiritual body. The material body is symptomized by birth, death, old age, and disease, but the spiritual body is conspicuous by the absence of those symptoms. So Prabhupada has mentioned this conspicuous by the absence of something quite a few times. Most famous is the time. He says that time exists in the spiritual, but it is conspicuous by the absence of it in the spiritual world. So similarly, he is also saying that spiritual body is conspicuous by the absence of those symptoms. Meaning there is no birth and therefore there is no death, there is no old age and there is no disease. Because there is no old age, we do not have to worry about the hairs becoming gray, white, and dying them, etc. And because we don't become old, the body does not change, we don't have any diseases. So that's the spiritual body, that's the spiritual life. Living entities reside in Vaikuntha Lokas in eternal life and bliss, have the same type of spiritual body without being affected by any signs of old age. It was, he also quotes Srimad Bhagavatam, that the party of Vishnu to prove that the difference between the Vishnu Dutas and the Yamaraj. The Vishnu Dutas looked very young boys, whereas the Yamadutas, they were looking very ugly and fearful. Therefore, when the Lord descends from that world to this world, he descends in a spiritual body of Atma Maya. And again, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that because Krishna and Balaram, they descend in their original spiritual form in this world, in the body of Atma Maya, internal potency, they are without any touch of Bahiranga Maya, or the Bahiranga, or the external potency of the Lord. Which means that they are completely in their spiritual potency, in their original potency they come. It's not very difficult to understand. Prabhupada has explained it many, many times. with the example of a governor and the prison house. In a prison house, the people there, they have a particular dress, white and striped and whatever it is. They have to eat a particular food, and they may be chained, or doesn't matter chained or not, but they are confined to one particular area. But when the governor of that particular state, he goes to the prison house, he goes in his original dress of, he may be in a coat, suit and tie and whatever it may be, but he goes in his original form, and he goes there, mingles with the prisoners and goes out, so on his own will. So here in the material world, a powerful person can do that. So why not Krishna? He's the most powerful. He has created this material world. He comes on his own accord. He comes according to his own will, mingles here with the devotees, does what he needs to do, and then goes according to his own will. Exactly like the governor going inside a prison house and leaving in his own free will. So not very difficult to understand. And Prabhupada says that why do the impersonalists or the Mayavadi get bewildered? It's very difficult to understand that the Lord has to take the help of Maya to come here. They say that the Lord has to take the help of the material energy to take a body, to take a material form and come here. But that's not at all required. Exactly like the governor. The governor does not have to take any help from the prison house. He does not have to take on the clothes of the prison mates or have to eat that food. Nothing. He comes in his original form, does what he needs to do, and goes. So similarly, Krishna, why he cannot? He can. He's omnipotent. He's omni everything. So those and that actually I'm out of time, but very quickly that actually leads to also people see the Lord, and in general everyone, according to their own consciousness, according to their own nature. Exactly like in Mathura when Krishna went, the different kinds of people, it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, saw Krishna in different ways. The ladies saw him with love. Those who had love for Krishna, they saw him with love. Then the Gyanis saw him as an impersonal Brahman. The yogis saw him as Paramatma. The the wrestlers, what were their name, Chanura and Mustika, they saw him as a very powerful person, strong person, because he had just killed a strong elephant. It's a boy. Kamsa saw him as death personified. Nanda Maharaj and the other Gopa boys that had accompanied him there, they saw him as a young, soft, cute little boy of their age who did not have the strength to deal with these big personalities, etc. So everyone saw Krishna in different ways. And the pure devotees, because they are devotees, they have this Premanjana Churita eyes. Their eyes are anointed by love for Krishna. They see him in his original form. So with that, Prabhupada also ended the purport with quoting Bhagavad Gita 9.13 and 14, which we already discussed, that the Mahatmas or the great devotees of the Lord take pleasure in chanting of the activities of the Lord, because that's what they desire for. So I'll stop here. We quickly discuss the translation where Lord Brahma is describing the advent of Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram. And the first point is that he mentions is that he comes here to relieve or to diminish the distress of the world from the kings who have no faith in God. So we discussed how Krishna comes. He does not need to come to specifically kill these people, but he comes here, like Prabhupada explains, to give association to his pure devotees. And the point then Lord Brahma makes is that the Lord comes in his original form. So we discussed that the Krishna does not need to take help of anyone, including the Mahamaya, but he comes in his original form, in his original spiritual form. And his form is described, particularly the beautiful black hairs are described, and the hair remain like that even when he is 125 years old, when most people after in their old age have gray white hairs. So this was all I had for today. So I'll open up for quick questions or discussion if there are any. Otherwise, we are out of time. We can end. All right. So no discussions. So again, wish you all a very happy Balaram Jayanti. And with that, I'll end. Thank you very much for joining today morning. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya vachapatitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful rest of your day.